developing, and crowdfunding a hit web series. If you got any content in mind and you want to figure out how to put it, how to get a lot of people who you don't know well or at all to help you finance it, maybe we'll learn the steps in the coming minutes. My name is Vega, Mark Vega. I'm an entertainment attorney and a serial entrepreneur and a big supporter of the Content Summit for a number of years, and had the good fortune this year to be able to be here all day and really get a lot of great information from panelists who I'm bum rushed as they left the room today. A lot of changes in the law that are going to be important for you to pay attention to over the next couple of months. But in the meantime, you need the mechanics and the template, and you need to figure out how to reach a lot of people with the right kind of communication and get them to give you money. So we're going to finish up today with WebTV Workshop. I'm going to let Damian and Dianna explain to you what their business, this business is. They're prolific producers and content creators, and they're active with a lot of different not-for-profit and for-profit organizations. They've done shorts and films and features, and they've done a lot of creation. And when I talked to them on the phone, the thing I was excited about was the idea that this workshop is as organic as it needs to be. So literally, any question that you didn't get answered so far today, I think this might be a time for an opportunity to really open up a discussion about it. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for coming today, and I will turn it over to you.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi. Woo, you made it through. Thank you for coming. I think we'll start off just by introducing ourselves, so we can talk about how we got involved in this space and kind of what our backgrounds are to give you a sense. You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
All right. Microphones. My name's Dianna Nicole Baxter. I am an actress, filmmaker, producer. I got involved in this space back in 2006. I had been here for about a year. I came from New York City with an off-Broadway show that did really well in LA, and then I got an agent, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a superstar within 4 years. And that didn't happen, and the phone calls didn't come. And at the same time, people were starting to do narrative content online. Lonely Girl 15 was out at the time, and we were fascinated by that, myself and my co-creator, Brad Winderbaum. And at the same time, Sam Has 7 Friends, The Big Fantastic, had come out. And so we were really getting inspired by what we were seeing in the digital arena. And we said, you know what? Let's stop waiting for the phone to ring. Let's stop waiting around for anybody to do anything for us. And let's create something. So we put our heads together, and we wrote this interactive sci-fi thriller called Satocracy 88. Now, if I ask any of you in 2 minutes what was the name of that, you'll forget. Lesson learned. Don't name your show something that's going to be hard for people to find. But anyhow, we got some friends together, 2 very good friends of ours. We hired them as producers, Mark Cittadino and Andy Dugan, who are doing great things in the digital space still. And every month, I know that sounds crazy now, we would produce an episode that would be 5 to 7 minutes long. And at the end of each episode, the audience, you guys, would vote on what the character was to do next. So essentially it was choose your own adventure, like the little books I grew up reading as a kid. Anyhow, we started out, this is pre-Facebook, pre-Twitter, MySpace. We definitely utilized MySpace. They started coming out with their film section on MySpace at the time. So we got a few fans from there, and really we just pushed it through email. And slowly but surely we started getting a following. So one thing that we did, we were consistent, even though it was one show a month. It was challenging to keep bringing people back, but we'd make sure there was a cliffhanger at the end, blah, 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 blah. We'll get into all that. But at the time, the Webby Awards started taking notice. They had their first online narrative award, which we ended up winning. We were really excited, and when we were in New York, we got a phone call saying that, hey, you've been nominated for an Emmy. And I asked them, how do you spell that? You can't be serious about the real thing. Anyhow, long story short, we ended up winning the first Emmy for the web. And after that, signed with ICM, great agencies and what have you, and really got thrown into the digital space. And really, it's just, accolade aside, it's a great paperweight. But it's testament to when you get a team together, you get very clear on what your idea is, and you commit to it, and you know who your audience is, and you have consistent throwout, you really don't need anybody's permission. I mean, we're in an extremely revolutionary time right now. So that's kind of my story on how I got involved in the space. And I know Damian from years ago. He was my first roommate in LA. We had crazy times. And we reconnected back in 2009, going into 2010. And I kind of jumped out of the web scene for a little while, really focused on my writing and a screenplay I'd wanted to write about Billie Holiday for the longest time, blah, 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 blah. Damian jumped in and started producing a lot. So when we reconnected, we said, you know, there really isn't, at the time, there wasn't a space for people to come together and workshop their ideas, develop them, and actually gain business savvy and strategy on how to release, because each project is different, determining which way you're going to go about actually making successful content. And we got together and created the curriculum for WebTV Workshop, and here we are. I think that's enough. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Damien Pelliccione. I'm just really excited to be here. It's been like a while. It's so weird, like sitting in front of a big room of people. Wearing a bow tie. I put on this bow tie for you guys today because I wanted to look a little bit savvy. Anyways, but my name's Damian. I actually, similar to Dianna, actually came from an acting background. I'm from Toronto, originally born and raised in Toronto, Canada. Was a child star, then moved to New York. And when I went to theater school in New York, I ended up, after graduating, working at an agency. Because I was trying to twist my way into the agency, so I decided to be a theatrical assistant. I was a theatrical assistant for 2 years at Abrams Artists. From there, I ended up booking a role in the West End in London and went to London for 2 months, and then switched over and moved to Los Angeles. I was a regular on the Gilmore Girls for 2 seasons. I'm actually going to be on Modern Family next week if you guys watch. It'll be really exciting. Yeah, I play a waiter. I have one line. It's really fun. But outside of that, I really kind of got into producing during the strike. In 2007, I was inspired by my roommate at the time, who was doing really well with this web series. Her and a lot of our mutual friends, actually, we had mutual friends working on the project that were creating together, and it just inspired me to start to want to create. And so I started working, in short film, commercials, a couple of music videos, and then got my feet wet in the web, and really decided to take a focus in the web. This was about 2007, 2008, end of 2007, beginning of 2008, and I created a web series with a good friend of ours, Dave O'Brien, called Cartera, which was the first ever interactive gay superhero sci-fi web series, which was a lot of fun. And we kind of, played on the idea of choose your own adventure. I was inspired by my friend, and it was great. It was really wonderful, but it just got me into kind of developing into that whole mode of like, what's next? Where are we going with this? I kind of had a little bit of a technology background. My cousin used to head MGI Software in Canada, and then went over to Roxio, and now he's doing some wonderful things with Facebook apps, and he kind of inspired me as well. So I took kind of, both sides, the creative and the technology, and tried to, do a lot of research and development and really dive into this space. I had a marketing background and an events background. So I got together with 2 other friends. We started an office in downtown LA, on the 9th floor of the Spring Arts Tower at 6th and Spring. And one was a producer, writer. One was a, editor and shooter. The other one, myself, was actor, writer, producer. And we started creating content together. And we were in a small room that was about 300 square feet. We had 3 desks piled one on top of the other, basically, and a little water station and print station. Within 6 months, I was bought out by Dogma Studios and asked to move over here to Marina Del Rey to head development at a giant 10,000 square foot facility. And my job was to specifically take a lot of the clients that I was working with at the time. I was working with Sandra Bernhard, Pauly Shore, Ileana Douglas, a bunch of comedians and celebrities who wanted to develop projects for the web. And I was piecing together ideas and concepts with them, more on the business side of things and the strategy side for how we can utilize things like SEO, social media, and marketing, as well as sales and development and pitch to go out to sponsors and brands to really get projects off the ground. And I was successful with a couple of those projects, which we'll talk about in a bit when we talk about your project, because we really want to hear from you guys. And at Dogma Studios, I actually produced about 10 different web series. I sat in front of about 100 different pitches. My job was really to look at the creative and the business side and extract where we can monetize and where those dollars and cents were coming from. And that was really exciting for me as well, because it really got me into, thinking in a different mindset other than like, this is a really cool idea, let's create it. More or less like, this is a really cool idea, now how can we make money off of it and create it and sustain a living? And that's always, the catch-22, but it was a really fun puzzle that I got really interested in solving. I also run something called New Media Vault. Some of you may or may not have been to it. New Media Vault is now the largest and longest-running entertainment and technology mixer in LA. We have an email list of 20,000 and social media of 100,000. I started that event when I was at Spring Arts Tower. There was a new venue opening called the Crocker Club in downtown Los Angeles, and it was a club that was being built inside of, or a bar, I should say, not a club, being built inside of a bank vault. That's where I coined the phrase New Media Vault. And we'd get together the last Thursday of every month. TubeFilter was a sponsor. Now I've got over about 20 different sponsors. And people with like-minded interest in the new media space would get together and talk and drink and converse and socialize and network. And 3.5 years later, we're now at the W Hotel in Hollywood at Station Lounge the last Thursday of every month, sometimes the last Thursday. This time it's going to be November 1st. We're going to be doing a Day of the Dead theme. And you could check that out on newmediavaultmixer.com, newmediavaultmixer.com. It's a free event. It's always free to attend. We have about 300 to 400 people, give or take, every month that show up. And on special months, we have upwards of 800 people that show up. That event alone and running it consistently has not only produced a second income for myself, but it also has got us, myself and us, for WebTV Workshop and all other projects that we work on, so much in barter and trade. You'd be surprised the things I could tell you, from a teleprompter to venues to production rentals, you name it. I've traded for sponsorship on it. And if there's anyone who's interested in trade for sponsorship, come and see me afterwards. And that's the other thing too, I think, is also, being a self-promoter. I think that's one of the biggest things about this space, is not afraid to be a little shameless at times. Sometimes I'm a little too shameless, but, I think that it's something that you really learn about this business quick, that you really have to market and promote yourself. And especially when it comes to the internet and the web, that's a big, big part of it. I now also sit on the broadband committee at the Producers Guild, which is really exciting, and I'm a member of the New Media Council, and I also sit on the LGBT National Committee at Screen Actors Guild AFTRA. So lots of exciting things. Now, we're going to do something completely different. We're not going to sit here and talk to you guys the whole time. We actually want to turn this into a classroom. We want to turn this into a workshop, which last time we did this was very exciting, because everyone who was in the room was kind of like, what? I thought we were just going to be taking notes. No, we want to get you guys actively involved, because that's what we do with WebTV Workshop. And we'll tell you a little bit about WebTV Workshop later on. So, Dianna, where do we start?
Well, I would like to hear from anybody who's fearless enough to stand up, and if you have a current idea or project, to pitch it. Tell us about it.
Tell us who you are.
And what your concerns are. And
cool, here we go. We got one.
Josh Bednarski. I'm producing currently and writing and acting in a web series. We just wrapped our first unit day before yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got to go into our second round before too late, as well as start editing. Features some UCB and Groundlings talent. It's called Crowned. It involves the world of party princesses, and it fuses comedy and fantasy. So there's a lot of improv, but also there's kind of an overarching fantasy meaning behind the whole thing.
Very cool. Have you guys launched yet?
No, we
just
raised funds
finished.
on Kickstarter. We've not launched any episodes yet, but that's actually purposeful, because I don't exactly want to just throw it up on YouTube.
Just smart.
So I'm still investigating a plan of
Attack.
How many
Yeah.
episodes do you plan to shoot?
I have in my mind 9 around it. 7.
Why 9?
I just think that there should be 8. I heard through some of my research, like at least, just to kind of gain some kind of momentum, and instead of a less number and not gaining enough traction. But I'm willing to defer to answers from the pros.
Well, what's your ultimate goal for this? Obviously, it's comedy. Is it one-off or serial? Meaning, can I come in on episode 3 and get it and not have to watch episode 1 and 2 to understand where we're at in the story?
I would hope that I could be both, but there is an overarching story.
No such thing as both.
Well, meaning that there are entertaining, funny things that actually could be like just funny images. So in other words, you can watch an episode out of context, but at the same time, there is a storyline connecting it. So I guess I would answer serial.
Okay.
Cool. One of the biggest things though, that we're seeing right now is web television mimicking like TV. And if you look at like the way that sponsorships, whether you're, in digital marketing or advertising, a lot of the big planners, media buyers and sponsors look at buying in quarters because that's kind of how their spending works. So if we think about how you can consistently roll out through that quarter, one a week over the course of, 3 months, then we're looking at a minimum of 12 episodes. You want to go in increments of 6, 12, 24. Unless you're just doing a proof of concept, which you're there then to essentially sell and show exactly what it is that you can do as a content producer, then just do a pilot. And that brings us to something else too, length. What length are you doing?
Right. What is your length?
Between 6 and 9 minutes.
Why 6 and 9 minutes?
There's no right or wrong.
There's no right or
question.
wrong answer.
I'm
We
just
just
trying
like
to
to
understand more.
Yeah.
With a lot of this, like I just wrote,
That's how you wrote. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but there is also a possibility within editing to make
Expand or shorten.
So, but basically you're doing short form content, meaning what we're seeing a lot on the web as well now is that people are used to watching television length shows on their computer, or they have a set-top box where they have access to the internet and they can watch different shows. So a good friend of mine, Hayden Black, for example, he came out in the scene around 2006 as well and had a show called Goodnight Burbank, which at first was short form content. Hayden's stuff, I think it was even less than 5 minutes. I think his first things were like 1 minute 30 seconds. Anyways, not sure. Long story short, fast forward to last year before last, he decided, you know what? I want this as TV length half-hour comedy content. So, he met with Hulu and they said, we'll promote it, but you have to shoot it. But what this did for him, I mean, mind you, doing half-hour content is a lot more expensive and resources and budget is very different than doing, 6 episodes of 5-minute content, But it gave him the opportunity to launch on Hulu. Within the first episode, Mark Cuban called him and was like, hey, I love your show. I want it on HDNet TV, the cable channel. So he was able to take it from a digital platform onto a cable platform. Now, mind you, if that's not your goal, that's not your goal. Like, once again, what is your ultimate goal for this? You mentioned, hey, I heard this, I should do this many because I want to raise an audience. So if this is something that you are doing yourself with your team, where you're like, you know what, we are going to have our parent site, or maybe we're going to, release with an exclusive for a certain platform at first, kind of build the buzz, and then we're going to just continue our rollout consistently after that. What's your ultimate goal?
I believe in the idea enough that I think that it could be a 30-minute, like, party down length.
I love that show.
Yes, and it is party princess companies rivaling with each other. It skirts the whole mouse licensing problem because there are a lot of princess stories and fairy tale stories that are old enough that, as long as you costume in a certain way and write your own music, then you're going to be fine with that. So I want to have a successful web series. Yet I do think that I would like to also open the door to longer form.
Just keep yourself open. I think that's the biggest thing is, when we're looking at like the consumption rate of the average viewer, we look at it on, this, we look at it on our iPads, we look at it on, so many different types of platforms that there's no right or wrong answer in terms of the length of the content. But when you think about how you want to kind of transgress this and grow it into something bigger, then you have to kind of take that big picture and start to shrink it down. One of the examples we talk about in WebTV Workshop when we're in the classroom, is we take a big pie chart and we think of the actual story as a brand, and then we actually piece that brand into a web, a television, and a film element, and how we could actually grow this one web idea into these other forms of media that we can actually, release and curate content through. And it's really exciting because essentially your story is your brand, it's your concept, it's your IP, and now it's like, what are different ways that we can creatively expand using technology, as the conduit to tell this story? Because there's so many different types of technology now, in the way that we consume content. It's kind of like we're at this forefront. We're standing on the ledge, ready to jump. Or at least I like to think so. And it's funny, actually, my husband calls me the party princess. So if you're casting, let me know. Yeah, definitely.
Real quick, I just want to ask him one more question, then I'll get to you.
Yeah.
Most important question: who's your audience?
I have all that written down. There's Disney fans. We've got musical fans.
Let's stop you right there, Dianna.
Go ahead. No,
No,
I
okay.
already both going to say the same thing.
Anyways, demographic is basically we're going to cut you off. You really, you really have to know the demographics. So in other words,
Age, male, female.
and be very specific. Don't be broad. Go into the category of like females between the ages of 14 and 18, or 18 and 32, or 32 and 50, something around that, 46, 50.
The reason why this is important is because with the web, niche works best. Period. Especially now. I mean, it's growing so much, and it's grown so much, and it's going to continue to. But you want a targeted audience on the web. This is not network television where we're trying to appeal to a huge mass audience. You're trying to narrow in and zero in on your super fans and those people that really watch your content and want this content and need this content. Do you see what I'm saying? So you might say, okay, musical fans or Disney fans. Well, are you talking, is this, obviously it's not children's material, I'm assuming. But, what is that age range? What does that look like? And you can start doing research on that. There's different tools you can use for that. One of them being Alexa.com or org?
.com.
.com, that's
Yeah.
right. Alexa, Alexa.com. And that site will allow you to, let's say you were doing we'll use, Miss Felicia Day for this. Let's say you were doing a web series about gaming, or, a web series about gaming, and you want to find out who that target audience is. Outside of it just being, gamers, of course. Okay, well, what is the demographic of gamers? You could go on Alexa, you could type in The Guild, and it will bring up down to if these people graduated from college, male, female, what age.
Where they're browsing from.
Where they're browsing from. So all of you, whoever is creating content here, producing content, what have you, you should know similar shows that are out there like yours. You have to do your research and development to really, really understand from a business standpoint how you're going to distribute this and market this material. Like I said, congratulations in the beginning, because some of the hardest part is just getting the damn thing made.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a set plan of what you're going to do with it afterwards, it will get lost. It will get up there. It could be the most brilliant material in the world, and nobody will ever see it.
Yeah.
So, just as much as your creative development for the storytelling and making sure this story is king, it's just as important for you to have a very clear marketing and distribution plan. And you can't do any of that if you don't know who the hell your audience is.
Yeah, and a big part of that too is, just to add on real quick, is that, when we think about like sponsors and we think about branded content, let's say for instance it's Arrowhead. Well, what demographic does Arrowhead target? Well, I would assume that they target female between the ages of like 20 and 50, because they do most of the grocery shopping for, an average household. So, no, I know that's sad. No, I know that's sad. No, I know, but it actually is true. It actually is true. Females actually have a huger buying power on the web when it comes to food and beverage products than males do. It's actually a proven statistic. I know it's sexist, but that's what it is in America, unfortunately. So when we look at like different food brands, beverage brands, things like that are food specific, we have to think about who those targeted people who are most likely to buy those products. Well, does my demographic match that target audience for those, you know, for that buying power? So if that's the case, then this could be someone that I go out to for a sponsorship for my web series. Also, too, is the subject matter of my web series going to be, you know, conservative enough for the average brand? You know, we have to think about, there are some brands that are a little bit more out there and in your face, and then there are ones that are a little bit more conservative with their image, you know, and does the subject matter of my web series actually match that conservative image? Yes.
Hold
in
on
the
real
back.
quick. She's been waiting
yes,
for a while.
yeah.
Real quick. Yes.
My name's Jill Jarris. I'm
Hi,
a
Jill.
producer director, and I produced this film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
What's it called?
It's called The One Nighter.
What's the website?
Oh yeah, thewonenightermovie.com.
There you go. Now everyone's going to go to it.
OneNighterMovie.com.
That's me.
Uh-huh.
And we've won a lot of awards on the festival circuit, and in a very short amount of time. And after I got done editing this film, I realized that the situation and the characters lend themselves exactly for network TV sitcoms. So what I did was I took the footage of the film
Okay.
and I edited exactly 24-minute pilot
Okay.
for TV. And I'm here at this seminar to learn from you how I should proceed with the material that I have in developing it into other.
Forms of like,
Yes, absolutely.
So but your goal is to get into the networks, to pitch to the different networks. You want TV or you want web?
Well, actually, if I could use the web to get into network television, the ideal scene would be to have them just buy the premise of this pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I have other things in development, but
Well, I think it's great that, congratulations on the film and that it's doing well in the festival circuit, and using footage and material that you've already shot as a proof of concept. I think that's smart. Is it a short film or a feature?
no, it's a 90-minute feature.
It's a feature, okay. Because the only thing I think of is, and it obviously is doable, but it's just a different, a pilot episode. Pilots are probably the most difficult thing to write, because you have to introduce all your characters, you have to, so even if you're breaking it down, say it's your first act, it's 90 minutes, right? So say your first act is what you're doing as your pilot, basically, in some ways, right?
Pretty much.
Right. I'm not sure if that reads television. Does that make any sense? Does it feel like I'm watching a first?
You know what it is? What it is what is a sample episode more than a pilot, where the characters don't have the cookie cutter introduction.
You see the relationships already and what have you. And that's fine too, because some people say, hey, I'd rather present this. This is like episode 3 of something, so you get more of a sense of the interaction of these characters and stories. Okay, so fine. So say you have your...
It's called I Love Louie.
I love Louie. Great. So, I think this is the challenge and danger in this, right? Is that a lot of people nowadays are like, I'm going to use the web to get into TV. It's happened. It absolutely can happen. But I say that even getting an audience on the web and getting attention on the web is going to take more than just a proof of concept.
yeah.
So, and, usually you would have, like, I'll use Al Thompson, a friend of ours in New York, who's been great with getting his pilots for his web series into festivals. New York TV Fest is a great one. Probably the top that I would recommend for anybody shopping around web series and pilots for TV. But he would cut a trailer. He would shoot like 3 episodes, cut a trailer, put it on a parent site, let's say Linux Avenue, theseries.com. You'd get to see the trailer. You never get to see any of the series, right? He creates buzz around it, creates buzz around it, creates buzz around it. Boom. It comes out in the festivals. Does amazing in the festivals, right? You still don't get to see these episodes because what he's doing with this is he is taking this material with his contacts. That's a big one too,
Having the
you have to be out there
contacts, yeah.
networking and actually have these contacts to get these things in front of the people you want to see, which is all of you are doing that. You're all here at Digital Hollywood. But he has a totally different strategy on getting into the TV game. Now, mind you, even with him getting into the TV game and having created successful content, for instance, he's made a deal with BET where his, I forget which one, I think it is Linux Avenue, the series, is featured as one of their digital series, right? But he still had to shoot the whole thing first. You know, there is deals going on out there where they give you money to shoot your things, but I'm trying to be as realistic as possible because I feel like people think, you know what, I can't get in front of the TV guys, so I'm going to make a web series and then I'm going to get in front of the TV guys. Well, you still need those contacts and the body of work that you would need either way.
And an audience.
And an audience.
You have to prove your audience.
That's why I say I think it's awesome that you are using successful content that is done well for you in a different format, taking that, reworking it for another format. But I'm not sure, outside of having, you know, ilovelouis.com with this episode up as like a pitch site, I'm not sure if the web is the right place for it for you to gain an audience, because you're still going to need to promote more work.
The other thing too,
you could cut it up into a whole series.
Yeah, the other thing too is you could cut up what you have into an entire, you know, web series. You can repurpose your content. That's a big thing that we talk about, and that comes from strategizing from the beginning. Am I repurposing this for film, for television, for the web? But how is this brand, this idea start and conceive, and how can it grow? One of the biggest things too that we really want people to understand when you take our seminar, Web TV Workshop, is that use the medium in which it's best for. With Web television, you can actually engage your audience. You can't do that with television. You can engage your audience through social media. You can engage your audience through marketing. You can engage your audience through participation, through story, interactivity, engagement is insane. The levels that we can actually manipulate and create an audience, and I shouldn't say manipulate, but manipulate an audience to your advantage in terms of growing that body of fans is outstanding. There was another project that I'll use an example of, Kill Cam. Our friends, actually, it's funny, Dianna was in Kill Cam, and Dianna was also in Goodnight Burbank. You'll actually see her in it as well. But Kill Cam was an experimental project that friends of ours put together last year, and I think it was brilliant what they did. They used the concept of live streaming. And they took the concept of horror, that was their main subject matter, and it was an ensemble cast, and someone was going to get killed off at the end of every web episode. And that web episode, the person who was getting killed off would get thrown into a room.
Right, but let me backtrack a little bit, because strategy, once again, initially, they wrote a film, okay? So they wrote a film, they shoot the film, okay? Now, the way the film is written, because they know they're trying to do this as a transmedia project, the way the film is written, you know, it's just like any other horror film when, oh my gosh, she's walking up to the door, you crazy dumb girl, don't go in there, you know, and boom. So it's almost like the cliffhanger moments of somebody getting ready to get killed, but we don't actually see them get killed. To actually watch the murders is some sick stuff, and I'm sick for doing it. They live streamed the killings. So each person that's getting ready to get killed, they shoot the film, boom, right? But in the film, we don't see anybody get killed. Film is shot. They're editing it while we're shooting it. Then we go into the kill room, which they have built in a warehouse, and each actor has to go in there up till 72 hours and sleep there and live there. And all that you have for outlet is the computer. So we were on Stick'em, live streaming Stick'em. I was in there for, I think, 64 hours. We did have a bathroom we could sneak out to, but live stream and Stick'em. But it was crazy because literally you want to talk about the audience controlling the story, and they're relentless on these sites. They're like, bullshit, that's a cardboard wall, kick it harder, you know, I hope you die. Like, it was just craziness. But you're chatting back and forth in character with these people. But what that did was create all this buzz and a super fan community, because these people felt connected to these people that were getting killed. And they broke up the film into a web series. So episode 1, boom, you meet all the characters. Episode 2, somebody's going to get killed. Boom. We stop from that episode, and the screen comes up, and now you're in the kill room. And there's a countdown on that site to when the kill room's going to open up. So we garnered, I think, something like 5 million views within the live streaming room. And I mean, these super fans came from Japan, from everywhere. I had a guy cutting up trailers of my killing, like sick stuff, mind you. Yeah. But I thought it was a great experiment that they used the format of actually a film, which they sold the film after, by the way, and they were incorporated. They had a regular camera as well in the live streaming, so they were able to incorporate some of that footage and put it into the actual film. But, you know, they got a film out of that, a web series, and an interactive experience.
Yeah.
And sold it,
Yeah.
you know.
With millions and
there's
millions
just
of viewers.
So many creative ways we can really work with this medium. So I, like Damien said, think about that when you are, you know, writing your series.
Yeah. Actually, real quick, before we move on, I want to see a show of hands. How many people are writers in the room? Okay. How many people are directors, producers, actors?
All right.
Cool. Technology experts.
Stunts, yeah.
Social media. How many people in marketing? Angel investors. You're going to get hounded
none
later.
of you can talk to him. We're only going to talk to him.
I don't like to point those people out because usually they're like the ones that run and hide.
So
afterwards.
I hope did we give you any food for thought? I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
I'm just here to learn from you guys.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
I think it's great that you've done great with your film and that you're thinking in the way of
Congratulations.
using
Yeah.
something that's already been great into putting it
On
into
top of the fact,
something
have you
else.
used things like Distributor yet, where ways that you can actually like monetize the film? Anyone who's got 90 minutes or more of content, any kind of feature-length film that is not educationally based, that is like a documentary or a narrative, there's a wonderful platform. It's actually, they're connected to Indiegogo. It's Distributor.com. Adam, I think, was speaking here earlier this week or today.
That's DISTRIBBER.com.
We're huge fans of theirs. They allow you to monetize and keep 100% of your profit and actually put it up on things like Amazon, iTunes, Netflix, Hulu's, Cox, Comcast, Time Warner, VOD channels that you probably never even heard of all across the country. And you keep 100% of your profit. But now here's an opportunity for an indie filmmaker to come along and create a project completely digitally and be able to monetize and market it themselves and not even have to go to a film festival or have a theatrical release. I'm actually working on a project right now where the entire project is a digital feature. The way that we release, the way that we screen, the way that we shoot, the way that we do everything is all digitally. And it's a really exciting project. And we're using the internet and all these different tools to create this project and monetize and sell and crowdfund and source the entire project. It's really exciting. We're actually on stage 1 right now, and it's doing really well. We have a question in the back with the white shirt. Yes.
Yeah. Well, real quickly follow up on that distributor. I have a series that's successful on TV and all the rest, but
Congratulations.
Distributor.com, they said they're not accepting. It was a few months ago, 5, 6 months ago, that they weren't accepting the series.
No,
well, no,
I think
they're
it's
not.
only
It's
movie.
not series.
Yeah, it's only feature.
It has to be 90 minutes of content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
What level of traffic is kind of a minimum before you would start approaching someone like your water sponsor or something like that?
You know what's exciting is
At least a million views.
there is a tool that I'm not going to release because you have to take the seminar in order for us to tell you about it. But there's a specific website that allows you to tap into sponsors directly that you can pitch 3 weeks before your project actually launches. And this website, you can search indirectly for things like water, cameras, cars, any kind of broad subject matter. Like you wouldn't say like, sparkling water. You would say a little bit more of a broader kind of search term. And it gives you the direct person at an agency that deals exclusively with digital and traditional product placement and development for a list of different brands that they'll represent here in Hollywood. And again, that's one of our trade secrets that we don't give out publicly, but if you take the class, we'll tell you all about it. We actually teach you about it.
What's the number? I'm honestly not
It doesn't
sure.
matter.
I would
There's-
say, well,
go ahead.
Hold on. But
Yeah.
the number for them, because you can get free product placement and then build a community and prove that you have numbers. Damien, you can probably tell a story behind that, but
Yeah.
let's get to the other questions. But you do have, like you said, you have to have a certain amount of hits. You have to prove that you actually have an audience. I honestly don't know that number. I would assume it'd be at least 1 million hits. But, you got to think, too, that nowadays it's not just, hey, I got 1 million hits on my site. It's, hey, what is the, I'm not thinking of
What's
the
the
right word.
retention rate?
Thank you.
Yeah.
How many people are sharing this content? How many people are, how many articles are being written about, blogged about, what have you? So it goes more than just having a certain amount of hits.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the times, for instance, I'll tell you this quick story. When I was at Dogma Studios, we actually did a test. We took a web series that was extremely brandable, very funny, mainstream kind of conservative, and I used this platform to actually brand to about 6 different things. We had a water sponsor, we had a chip sponsor, we had a soda sponsor, and an energy drink. And what we did is I went to them and I said, listen, it's got a B-list celebrity in it. We are going to, here's our release strategy, here's our Bible, here's our whole pitch package, this is what we want to do with it. Listen, I'm not asking for money, I'm asking for free product, because this will offset my cost for craft services, and I'll make sure that you guys actually show up in, X amount of minutes throughout the entire 60 minutes of content that we were shooting for this whole, first season of this web series. They were like, great, we'll send you 2 cases, 3 cases, 4 cases, no problem. And we had to do that even 3 weeks out, because I'm like, I want to prove to you that I am a viable producer, that I can actually do something with this. Free product for them is nothing. That web series actually got 2.5 million views. After those 2.5 million views, when we went back for a second season, I went back to those 4 sponsors and I said, look, I got 2.5 million views for your product. And look, it's in this episode with, 350,000, that episode with 400,000, this episode with 220,000. We're going to do a second series. Do you want to come on board and be a sponsor again? They're like, great, we'll give you double the amount of free product. I'm like, great, we want $5,000. They're like, here's a check. We raised $35,000 off of those 4 sponsors on that second season. And that was because I proved my worth as a producer, and I gave them something of value and proved that we could actually, do something and get those hits. And we developed those relationships. That was one way that we developed the relationship and came back. And they came back to work with us and came back to work with us and wanted to know what we were doing next and what we were doing after that, because we were able to prove our worth as a producer. And that's if you don't have that views, if you don't have that history or, that background in production with those views online. Cool.
Him and then him. And then you, okay? Sorry. Wow.
Cool.
It's called Pet Shop, and it's an ensemble cast about 9 principal characters that are connected through this local pet shop, and the pet shop owner is making a big selling what is called the Streets Charge, which is basil, which I don't know if people know what this is. It's synthetic.
Yeah, it's a zombie drug.
Are now gray market. They're illegal in some states, legal in other states, and it's a drama about what is going on with his life now. So he's building this empire, and it's kind of an origin story. My problem is that now I'm sitting with this product, and I thought I'd be positioned really well. I have all this great content, and the desire for content so big, but I'm having trouble getting my foot in the door, being out in Memphis, even with, say, for instance, my guy who's doing my composition and music. Now he knows an engineer at Hulu, and even though he approached his friend and said, "Hey, this is this great show, can we show it to somebody at Hulu?" We got sort of this stock email back from somebody else at Hulu that was like, if you have an agent who knows me and knows how to submit stuff, then we'll listen to you. So I guess I was sort of naive in thinking that, maybe in the web it would be a little bit more of an open door, or that door would open a little bit more easily if I'm walking in. But I'm also hearing, well, if you would have pitched us an idea or showed us a pilot, but we want to, we are the ones who want to do the production.
Who's we? Hulu?
No, that's more like Maker Studio or other people who have channels already up.
Got it.
And ultimately, we would like to be our own brand. The production company that I work with would like to be our own brand.
Yep.
And have our own, people coming to us to watch our programming. But that's not where we're at now. So we really need to work with somebody who has an audience already. So I don't know. I guess I'm just looking for any advice. Some people tell me, you'd be good, well served to put some money into marketing, but then other people say, no, you don't necessarily want to market yourself, because then you might be limiting what, if you end up getting an agent, you might be limiting what you can do.
I disagree with that. I think that you always should put money into marketing, time, effort, and money into your own marketing. I mean, because that never will hurt you in the end. Because let's just say you start to build your network, you start to grow your social media following, you start to grow your email list, your super fans. That's what people want. I mean, it's like, if I think about I would not be where I'm at today without New Media Vault. If I had not created that event and sustained it and been consistent for so long and built a database of, attendees, I would not be sitting in this chair today, because I control a very vast amount of marketing. And because I have that control, it allows me to do other things. It allows me to create sources of income. It allows me to create opportunities for myself. It allows me to promote and sponsor other individuals' events, like we sponsor and we work with, obviously, the Content Summit. I always think that that's going to be an investment in your business no matter what, and it's never going to hurt you or hinder you in any way. I think the way that you use it is something that you have to be careful with. Obviously, you want to associate yourself with the right path, with the right people. And as long as you stay, very consistent with what your brand is and your message is and who you are, then I'm the first one that says, a third of your budget should be marketing, a third of it should be creating your content, and a third of it should be, paying your creatives.
We have a lot of promotional content on our website, and we have a trailer, we have 9 teasers that commission our work for it, and we have Facebook page and all that, but the Memphis independent film community is such an insular community.
Right.
That there really I'm finding it very difficult to find even that one person that can help me
Break out.
Yeah.
reach anything larger than sort of
Yeah.
very insular like Memphis, Mississippi.
So
Well,
you're finding that
yeah.
even because it sounds like you've done a lot with having a site with teasers and promo material and everything else. Who are your fans right now? They're still all in miss.
Who my audience should be. I mean, my audience should be men 18 to 35. That should be my main audience. But I don't know how to get to them.
There's different tools. I mean, there are different products out there now, and companies that specifically work in social media marketing for content. Again, we talk about them in the website and we promote them. We partner with some of them that will take your content and help you find the audience, grow that base, and then kind of develop campaigns around that to sustain itself over a period of time, let's say for a longer product, like if you're doing a web series or a film or, television on the web, and grow that audience base and retain it. I think the biggest thing is retention rate. Right now, sponsors and products look at retention rate over numbers. How strong is that viewer, and what is the power of that viewer? Are they buying something afterwards? Are they trafficking to another site? Are they able to, tell a friend who tells 2 friends? Are they using word of mouth? And the mechanics on how we can measure that is really big right now. And it's something that information is worth a lot of money. So it's I would invest in those companies who are able to grow those campaigns with you. And a lot of the times they work at advertising agencies or in Silicon Valley. It's kind of this catch in between. I'm trying to think of one that would be a good example of it. What was that company in Israel?
Oh,
Interlude.fm.
the interlude.
Interlude.fm, which is a great product that we definitely promote. It actually has a really high retention rate because it kind of gives it gives a higher sense of user engagement while you view the content that you've created, and it allows you to capture that audience member and sustain them as well as qualify them. I think that's the big thing, is once you qualify that audience member, then you're able to kind of prove your worth. And I think that's the next thing, is you need to take that marketing to the next level outside of just what you've been doing. Now, how can we think smarter marketing, infinity marketing, groups, networks, not-for-profits that we can engage with that have like-minded audience members or individuals who feed into this content. Think of infinity marketing. I brand New Media Vault with film festivals, with conferences, with seminars, with, people who would be interested in coming to my event, who in exchange would want to come to their event, and then I feed off their network, they feed off my network. In exchange, we grow our networks together, and we're able to, give each other something. That's a big thing that you have to really think about. Who can I brand myself with who already has, an audience in place?
Is that helpful? Good. He's been waiting a while. Back.
Yeah, I've been an animation technologist for 20 years, and in the development of animated web series, whereas Flash has been the only really domain to create animation for the web. In the last year, motion capture has kind of stood on its head, and now you can do motion capture for the same kind of budget you can previously do Flash with.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea is to have this new realm of improvisation and actor-driven animation rather than animator-driven animation for a series I'm developing called Jailbirds, which is birds in jail in a pet shop where the cage is the jail.
Nice.
Whereas like the foghorn leghorn was a bird that moved and acted with human mannerisms, these birds would be the same way, so they would be driven by human actor performances. And I'd also like to be able to use the series as a way to pioneer other creatives to understand the power of this kind of animation technique for their own creative purposes.
Well, it sounds really cool. I mean, what your last statement, though, it almost sounds like you're going to try to create kind of your own platform for animators. Yes?
Yeah,
Is that big?
It's different from any animation that's previously been on the web. Web animation. It's only been the domain of $100 million movies, $10 million video game budgets, but not, $2,500 per episode web series. So it's now, there's been a huge change in the last year. Basically, Microsoft came out with a system called Kinect, which is a video game interface, but some very creative people around the planet have hacked that system so it can become a production
Oh,
system
no.
instead of a video game interface. Now you can do facial motion capture without wearing anything on your face, body motion capture without wearing anything on your body, hand motion
That's
without wearing
crazy.
anything on your hand. So this breakthrough that the people in the motion capture field have been clamoring for, Microsoft enabled without even knowing it.
Wow.
So where are you at in your process with the show?
I've got the show developed, and this change in evolution of the production technology has just evolved, I'd say, in the last year, and it's just really kind of been in the last 6 months.
It's like real-time animation.
So it's time for a revolution in the web animation field, and I'm hoping to lead it.
Nice.
I'll be honest, like my background's not in animation, but I did graduate UCB, so let me know if you need any improv actors. Shameless. But I think that
Shameless, honey.
and Dianna's an actress as well, so you can hire us. We're very talented actors or actresses. But I think that's amazing. That's I'll be honest, that's technology I'm not aware of.
No, I'm not that
familiar
good,
with.
but actually, my boyfriend is actually working on some development. He's got a ton of money to do some development stuff with animation, so I want your card later anyways.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really exciting.
Dovetail with crowdfunding.
What you're talking about for your project? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, crowdfunding, and I'm sure, this whole day has kind of been surrounding crowdfunding. But it doesn't just have to be used to raise money for the series. I mean, people are using it to raise money for marketing for their series. They're using it for, all kinds of things. So, I mean, it's really about, those core things about how many people do you have on your team that are actually working on the campaign, your crowdfunding campaign. I think a lot of people forget it's an actual campaign that's going on, and that you actually need a team and you need people consistently putting out thank yous, spreading the word, getting it on Twitter, Facebook, different blogs, making sure you have a strong pitch video. If you're not able to do, would you be able to do a sample of the animation for a pitch video for your crowdfunding campaign? Sure. There we go. And then I think, what inspired me from hearing you talk without knowing that much about animation, other than that I love animation, I don't know, the technology behind it, is that you have this vision of, bringing this level of animation to creators who might not otherwise be able to afford it, and creating a platform. And I think you really sharing that within your crowdfunding campaign will go further than just, hey, I want to raise money for this show, But yeah, I don't think, a lot of people say, with crowdfunding campaigns, the best ones are docus that are pulling the heartstrings because people want to give money, of more of like charitable type effort. But I don't agree with that. And I've seen successful campaigns surrounding very commercial material even. And it really is about your strategy before you even launch that campaign and making sure you have great incentives, a good story. Once again, it's about storytelling. So even within, the reason why I need this money or this is why I want to do this project, that needs to be a story in itself. And a good pitch video and a good team behind you so that you're consistently campaigning. So yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think there's a right or wrong when it comes to... There you go.
That's
exactly.
Cool. That's
and
cool.
showing even the difference. Show the animated characters doing the pitch and then the actors not animated. I would even, to really show how revolutionary this technology is. Awesome.
Anyone else like to talk about their project? Who hasn't yet?
A lot of people haven't. They don't want to, though. We'll go back to Josh. Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, I don't know if anybody ever really talks about this, and maybe because it's just not that great, but I mean, money-wise, what is the best possible scenario for income or money coming through a web series?
Millions and millions of dollars.
How much?
Millions and millions of dollars. No, I'm kidding. Partially.
Because to me, it's obviously it's an indicator of the industry. It needs to have some kind of income because money being spent on it.
Right.
So still need to make money off of it too.
Right. It's rare that people, especially if it's not, branded, if it's not a, specific YouTube channel where you're, if it's not sponsored, if it's just your own baby that you're supporting and bringing up, it's tough. And it takes a couple years usually to really build a strong audience. I know it's an old example and there's probably newer examples, but Felicia Day, once again, what she did with the Guild, she owns that show. She owns her IP. She is making money off of it, but it didn't start off as this, ton of money behind it. I'm making a ton of money show. It started off with her knowing her audience and her fans actually donating, supporting the show itself. And now, yes, is it lucrative? Do I know those exact numbers? No. But is it lucrative for her? Yes. And she owns it. And she's also pimped that show into many different avenues and different content and music videos and all kinds of different things, So she's really owned her brand. And I think, more importantly, really understanding what your brand is. What's the brand of your show? What's the brand of Josh Benarski? I can't read my own writing.
But we're a girls-centered comedy, so I think that's interesting because there's not a lot of stuff with that.
What do you mean there's not a lot of stuff?
There could be more.
Are you kidding me? Girls centered around
There's
princesses? There's tons of shit
Comediva.
on there.
For comedy, like actual, like the Bridesmaids thing. Why was that a huge success? I mean, I think
Because it's an underdeserved audience of women that don't get many shows and stories that they get to see on the big screen. So once again, this goes back to your demographic all over again. I mean, you might be tapping into a different demographic that is underdeserved and underrepresented, I should say. So I think your key with everything you've asked today is being really clear on who your audience is. That and making sure that your distribution is clear on how many episodes you want to release, when, where, if there's interstitial material. Are you doing this all by yourself and it's just your team and you have your parent site and you're launching it there? If so, are you going to let any other site have some of this content? Because, content everywhere. You got to get it out there. I mean, so you have a lot to think about as far as your distribution and marketing plan. But first and foremost, get a hold of who your audience is. Because if it's the bridesmaid freaking demographic, you got to cross over and look at what does that look like on the web. But I think you could really cash in a whole nother way.
And I know a wonderful class that you could take. It's coming up November 3rd and 4th.
No, but the reality from another great example I'm sure you guys have heard, The Bantam Way with Mark Gant, Jesse Warren, great guys. Once again, started out as a film script and, they shot a sizzle reel, shot the first 2 episodes, I believe, and cut that into a sizzle reel and then took it around town to pitch. But they spent a lot of money on that. they also had a very clear brand, and they knew who their
Yeah.
audience was, and they knew which digital arms were looking for that male 18 to 35-year-old audience.
And their intention was to sell. That
To
was how
sell,
they went into
exactly.
it.
Their
Yeah,
intention
their
wasn't, we're going to
was
keep doing
sell.
this show on our own and,
Yeah.
build an audience. So, I would do some research as far as, some of the names I mentioned today, find out more about their stories, contact them via Facebook or Twitter, just to find out a little bit more. And you can also do research on, the most successful web series of 2012. Find out what these guys are doing. Because, see, the model is changing all of the time. People are getting more and more creative on ways to get that audience in. I mean, obviously, there's always the rev share option. I've had 88 up on Hulu now since Hulu launched, really. And that's great. It's some extra change on the side. Mind you, that's cobweb material. I'm not driving users or an audience to that site, which you would be doing with your material, But when you have a rev share, it's a lot of content that needs to be being put out for you to really make a big enough paycheck to be like, all right, I'm chilling off of this,
I can pay my gas bill.
Right, but it's doable and it can be done. There's someone in this room, I won't point him out, but I know that he does well. And started off early on in the web space and, is able to make good money off of his content.
And actually, too, I want to point out one of our teachers is here, Ken Nicholas. Ken, raise your hand.
Ken actually
stand
talks
up.
about stand-up, Ken.
Stand up, take a bow, Ken.
He hates this.
Yay. Ken is one of our speakers at WebTV Workshop.
He's one of our speakers, and he has a background in digital advertising, and he actually does, he speaks about 19 different ways of monetization for your project. So
Yeah, it's one of the presentations that you get when you take WebTV Workshop. It's wonderful, along with, we have a digital advertising and entertainment attorney who comes and speaks for an hour. We talk about branding, we touch on social media, SEO, search engine optimization, monetization. We talk about strategy, pitch, casting. Casting's a big part of it too, because when we think of specifically for you, Josh, your project, what is that demographic? Well, maybe I want to cast people who have social media followings in that demographic, because guess what? When I cast them, I'm going to engage them and maybe even contract them to promote and market the film, the project for me just off being cast. I myself, as an actor, at the top of my headshot now, I have an email list of 20,000 and social media of 100,000. And this is the demographic of, my following. Some casting directors are like, why are you doing that? And then other ones are like, wow, you're so ahead of the game. It's kind of a catch-22, but if we think again about our strategy and our distribution or our planning, this is stuff that we discuss at WebTV Workshop. We really break into. We drill down to a project-by-project level. There's a lot of individual time that we spend, with our students. It's not about editing. It's not about pointing and shooting a camera. That's the last thing that we're teaching you. We're really teaching you how to produce and develop a successful web series.
sometimes we work with our students. Well, we have.
We
worked
do.
with
We
our
have.
students
Yeah.
there,
Dianna's working with one right now. I'm working with one right now. We've worked with a bunch in the past. It's really exciting on different, really, really different. And it's really interesting. We've had a range of students from 18 to 70, from New York to Los Angeles. We taught in New York last year, and to Los Angeles, we taught 120 people in LA and almost 50 people in New York. And it's really interesting to see the stories that come to us. People who have content shot, who haven't shot content, who have stories developed, who don't have stories developed, that just want to learn about the space and want information from all levels. We had a 20-time Emmy Award winner, Norman Stiles. He was one of the head writers on Sesame Street. Him and his wife took the class in New York
Sesame
City.
Street.
Don't vote for Romney. Anyways,
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean
No, but it's really exciting to see the level of people engaging, just to open your mind, the level of people engaging in this space. It's not just male driven or female driven. It's not just one demographic. It's seniors. It's, children's content is massive. That's probably one of the most successful content. I think of my little cousins, my second and third cousins who were right out of the womb learning how to use an iPhone and an iPad more than I know how to, and they're 4 and 5 years old. It's crazy because they're tech born. We're tech immigrants. We're not tech born. We had to learn and adopt these different things, and some of us still don't want to.
Yeah.
My mom
But
and
we
dad.
have to. You had a question.
Oh, yeah. My name is Stacey Ross. I'm an actress. I'm also a SAG board member. So
Awesome.
I hope we've tried to make it really easy for new media projects. We have a production center online.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of good feedback that people are able to use our talent. And I think, hopefully if you're making web series, you'll go and check it out.
Will comes and
Absolutely.
speaks. Will and,
we have SAG after.
Will always comes and
I was
speaks
gonna
at that
say
class.
SAG and after.
Yeah.
We have SAG after
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Come to speak to the students because it's a great way also to get involved with these unions now. They have
Open doors
doors when you start creating digital content that you can be, get involved with the PGA, WGA, SAG-AFTRA,
Writers Guild.
that's it, yeah, WGA.
WGA. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you do make a feature link through digital, you can't necessarily, all of a sudden if somebody goes, I want to put it in a film festival, then,
There's a different contract that comes into play.
You can exhibit through film festivals, I believe, but you can't sell and monetize and distribute unless it's through a digital feed. Yeah. 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 And they have great workshops for it, and we actually have speakers that come in and talk at WebTV Workshop. We have Will Marshall and Maria Timpani, who's in the business development. They come in and speak. Tamara Krinsky may or may not be at this one, but, she typically is wonderful and always takes calls and emails from any of our students. Producers Guild I'm a member of, but we also have, James Fino, Allison Savage come in and speak. Directors Guild we actually just made contact with. It's funny, a lot of students don't ask us about Directors Guild, mainly because it's very expensive to join and not a lot of people are interested. But you actually can join DGA through New Media, ironically enough. We have two good friends of ours who are actually gaining their points through Directors Guild by producing New Media projects, and one of them is about to join, which is really exciting. Sorry? And sorry, who else? Writers Guild, yes, Writers Guild is open. Yeah, and again, all of these unions, this is a fun thing though too. All these unions have open kind of contracts. How long do you think those contracts are going to stay that open? Eventually the door is going to shut. So if you are a professional writer, actor, director, or producer, and this is a medium that you're interested in working in, or you are already working in, now's the time to join those unions and really get involved with those unions, because it's not going to stay that way forever. And it's going to get harder and more expensive. So it's like, take advantage of what's available to you right now. And really understanding what's available, I think, is the biggest thing. Yes, one more point. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
when you're pitching and you go in, are you finding that the production value has to be, because there's so much content online and so many series vying for your attention, or do you find that you're having to spend a lot either on the sizzle reel to really have a lot of locations, a great DP? I mean, are you finding that it has to have a lot of high production value to get either a sponsor to get it made into a series, to have enough money behind it?
I say yes. If it's hosted content and it's a hosted show
Talk show.
about cars, and yes, it still needs to be a high production quality value, but you can get away with a few things with that when it's kind of more reality based, right? But no, when it comes to scripted content, it better look damn good. Like there's no excuse anymore. The technology's there, the talent's there, the technology's there, and it's inexpensive. So there's no excuse anymore. There's no excuse for crappy looking video.
Yeah.
It has to be there. And yes, you mentioned multiple locations, what have you. It's still doable. I had a film in Cannes earlier this year, and before I went, I said, you know what? I need to shoot a proof of concept for this other film that was one of my babies, and I want to. And, looking at that trailer, which needs to be recut, but looking at the trailer, we had a ton of frickin' different locations that people really thought, oh, the film's already shot. That's not what I wanted them to think. But, I was surprised so it's doable. It is absolutely doable, and it's doable on a lower budget because of the technology out there. It's just all about pre-planning and having a really good team that you don't take advantage of too much. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are like, oh, free. Here's the thing: is $50 goes a long way if you have no money and you need to. If you need someone on board, that's friend or not. You know what I mean? I always say pay. Like, I know for some of us it's really hard to do that, but even a little bit shows someone that you value what they're giving back. I think it's really important treat each other like professionals in that way.
The other thing too, there are wonderful resources like Production Hub. Production Hub is a search engine for crew. It's a media services, and Showbiz Software just launched. The Showbiz Software Labor Guide is launching in November 15th. Definitely check that out. We're big fans of Showbiz Software. We actually teach the class at Showbiz Software Cafe and Store. Yeah, and there's one, and they have a whole crew search engine as well. But there's ways that you can do things respectfully, I think, is what Dianna is, alluding to, and get stuff made. The more that you can get made, the more that you can do. Story's always king. The quality of your work is always going to speak for itself. But just strategize and think about the business end of it beyond that, because you could have a great product that no one sees, but it really just starts with you, because it's at the end of the day your effort and your energy that you put into your project that you're going to see in return. With WebTV Workshop, again, in closing, we have a wonderful seminar, a weekend seminar. It's over Saturday and Sunday. It is going to be November 3rd and 4th at Showbiz Software Store and Cafe. You can check us out at webtvworkshop.com. You can take one of our pamphlets. Unfortunately, on our pamphlets, it has our old 8-week model. You kind of get this in a nutshell over the course of a weekend. It's a little abbreviated from this, but just to kind of get an idea of the curriculum. On the back, it has our email address and our phone number if you guys want to get in touch with us. We have these here at the front. If you have any other questions, we'll be available. And thank you guys so much. We want to thank Digital Hollywood. We want to thank the Content Summit and Thomas, and all of you guys for coming and listening.